Hi everybody, my name is Nehoray with another session of lessons from the parasha of the week. This week's parasha is Vayechi, which means "and he lived," and it talks about when Jacob went from Israel to Egypt. And basically the Torah is telling us that before he moved to Egypt, Jacob was not living. And so he lived in Israel for 130 years before he moved to Egypt. So basically, Zohar asked the question, why such a person like Jacob, who was very pure and was very elevated for 130 years, why did he suffer so much? I mean, if it was someone like, me or somebody that is not so elevated, it can be, you can understand. But somebody in Jacob, in the level that Jacob was, why did he suffer so much? In order to answer that question, we got to go to writings of Rabbi Isaac Luria, which is his nickname is the Ari, which basically said that while Jacob was in Israel, he was there to correct Adam's sin. And Adam's sin has basically had done some damage to the covenant, or the Brit, the covenant between God and Israel. And the damage that it caused was the heaviness and lack of excitement which existed in Jacob's life, which also existed in Adam's life. And to some extent, we all have to correct Adam's sin while we live in this world. And the amount of joy that we receive in our life is indicative of how much we have corrected this sin. Every Shabbat, when we come here, we get an extra soul, and this extra soul, it's only connect to us when we have joy in our life. So it is very imperative to always live in joy, and no matter what the circumstances are. It took Jacob 130 years to correct Adam's sin. And when he undertook this challenge to do this for all humanity, he had to actually take part of Adam's damaged soul in himself in order to do that. And when he did that, he basically went through the suffering that Adam went through the 130 years that he was committing the sin. And also, the Zohar asked the question, how come Jacob couldn't see that, like for example, Joseph was alive? How come he didn't see that? Because he was so elevated. In order to see the future, or in order for somebody to see what's really going on, it has to be really close to the Creator and connect to divine inspiration. And in order to do that, you cannot be sad, or you cannot be suffering. And because Jacob was suffering and because he was sad, he could not connect to divine inspiration, and that's why he couldn't see that Joseph was alive and he had not died. And so while he was in Israel at the end of the 130 years, Jacob corrected to the point, Adam's sin, to the point that, the Creator said, okay, enough is enough. And that's when he went to Egypt. And that's when he really started living, when he went to Egypt with his children, who were very successful. Now, we all know that we all come to this world basically to correct, or tikkun, and we cannot run away from this responsibility. A lot of times we have doubts, and when we have doubts, we cannot connect to the creator or to the divine inspiration. So knowing that we come here to do this correction and undertaking this very important challenge, we should always be happy and connect to happiness. And the level of happiness that we have shows the level of our connection to the Creator. Another thing that the Ari wrote about was the fact that in order for redemption, you have to go through exile. And that's why Jacob, when he went to Egypt, basically it's like he was exiled from Israel to Egypt. And that's when he was redeemed. And this thing is also true for us and for everybody that tries to go to the next level and become closer to the Creator. And when I think about the exile, it reminds me of me moving here about 40 years ago from Iran. And being an Iranian, in the last week or so, the challenges that have been happening in Middle East between Iran, United States, and other countries has made me think and pray for the people of Iran and the people and also the people in power in both Iran and the United States, and ask the Creator to make him make better decisions so there'll be peace in Middle East. Thank you very much.